John Burgos is the creator and founder of Beyond the Ordinary Show, which is committed to improving and enriching the lives of others. John was moved by a profound shamanic experience that ignited his ability to pierce the veil and to communicate with different realms, which heightened his intuitive abilities. John is widely known as a leader in the human potential field through collaboration with esoteric and spiritual teachers. He believes that his work, in conjunction with the teachers he works intimately with, can be the catalyst for global change. Now, John offers personal coaching and a library of tools that will supercharge your personal transformation through his online portal, Living in the Extraordinary. Here, John shares his fun and exciting ways to find the way back to yourself by walking the shamanic way, the cosmic way, and the empowered way together with you. So become a Living in the Extraordinary member today and open yourself to new levels of creation with your own spiritual journey and John's support. You'll be able to share your experiences with other like-minded members, and you can connect with supportive community groups and join John for live online trainings. To find out more on signing up to John's Living in the Extraordinary membership portal, just go to channeling.com/John Burgos. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability? Well, John Burgos, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's wonderful being here. Thank you for the invitation.
It's great to be here in LA. I'm so glad that we connected. Dee Wallace connected us for this. I just want to say a thank you to her for doing that. And I feel this is an important interview for both of us. I don't know why I'm saying that. Not because of what you've told me off air, but I just feel that this is going to go somewhere. So I guess my first question for you really is, you would class yourself as a channeler?
A channeler in so many other things, but definitely I get channeled information that streams through. Absolutely.
Was that always present when you was a kid? Was there other family members that had that ability, do you think?
I think my mother, to a certain extent, had it, but it was repressed. It was repressed through the fear of religion. It was repressed through another power. Because of the limitations and the suffering that they grew up with, my mom grew up with especially, she didn't quite know how to use it, and it became more of an anxiousness, or I'm not sure where I'm getting information, it's confusing me, and let me follow somebody else's rules, because if I do this, it's not going to make sense to anybody else.
Now you can look back and see that now.
Oh yeah.
Was it very present in back then? I suppose, was it so obvious that that was going on?
No, it wasn't. It was hidden through anxiousness. It was hidden through the veil of religion. We grew up very Catholic, and so everything had that Catholic religious connotation to it instead of the organic flow that was really coming through that I can see now.
Where was that point where you sort of, not walked away from religion, but you were able to open up a new pathway for yourself? Like there was more books out there to find new truths from.
Oh my goodness. I think that always came up as even as a kid, that rebellious side that when you're a channel and when you're in tune, you feel when the truth is not disparate, when it's being bent to a certain way. So many of us as kids, it's like, how can religion talk about this but not accept love here? How can God love this but not love another? That doesn't make sense. And many of us have grown up with that knowing. But that's our own intuition. That's our own channel coming through and knowing that. But really setting religion aside on more when I was a teenager and got into my 20s, it didn't make sense for me anymore. I kept hearing, and especially when I had kids, I would show up to an event, and I lived in Texas for the longest time, and it was very Bible Belt, very Baptist based, and I had two daughters, and they would go to sleep over at church functions and things like that, and it's a great community. But then you would hear the leader of the church talking about how the gays are not going to go to heaven because it's a sin, and unless they repent their sin, then they're never going to be accepted into the gateways of heaven, and that would just piss me off. It seemed so wrong to me, and so I started really setting aside religion and having this anger about what was being taught. But I wasn't really angry at the religion. I was angry at the way that it was being portrayed. I think religion has beautiful components to it, but it's the interpretation of it and the manipulation of it that people use for power and authority that distorts everything. But I had to go through that. I had to go through the rejecting it, the letting it go, being angry with it, really letting go of even, again, we grew up very Catholic, and my connection to Jesus. And it's like, oh, that's so silly, all this, why would I even have that in my life? It's such a mythical persona that got created. At that time was what I was thinking in my mind, that I really want to do something else. And so I started getting into Buddhism, I started getting into other things, but it's really the same thing in different forms. But I had to get to know that and understand that to come full circle and actually start receiving the love that was being taught through religion, the intention of why it was set up, what the intention was of this figurehead who was Jesus, who was Buddha, who were all, who was Abraham, all of these other leaders who were teaching the same core principles. But I had to, again, come full circle, and then I started actually channeling information that people would call very Jesus-like, very benevolent, very loving, open-hearted. And there was an essence to it. So then I started reconnecting to those timelines, if you will, to the history of Jesus. Mary would come to me. I would feel her embrace, the energetics of it. And it was probably some of the most profound, beautiful, bodily, heart-opening experiences that I've ever experienced in my life. And all that came up through the channel. But for me, that came up through embracing the figures, embracing the teachings. And I think I had to go through the rebellious side of it before I can let it in a way that was authentic for me. And that's when the gateways seem to open up.
Yeah, because when you look at religion, if you look at the teachings of Jesus, I mean, they're very pure, aren't they? If you take away the religious side of it,
Yeah.
He has some great teachings. I mean, this man was highly enlightened.
Oh, yes.
For his time, and the ripple effects of his work live on. I mean, did he know that a religion was going to be set up in his name? I guess he must have been aware of it on a soul level that could be the case, for coming down to earth and doing what he did. But I also feel for you that when you were leaving Christianity, in a sense, that a lot of things must have been dissolving at the same time. Not just your religious faith, there must have been other things that were breaking down.
Oh, all kinds of things were breaking. You're so spot on. And we don't realize that because we typically lead with one thing, and that seems to be the one that the volumes turn on the most on, right? But at the same time, my marriage of 18 years was dwindling down. The way I was working, my business was changing. I was hiring different types of employees. I was looking for different type of mentors because those old structures weren't working the same way. You can start seeing, once you get illuminated with a little bit of truth, it starts getting illuminated in all aspects of your life. And so whenever we work on anything, and whenever I work with clients or on the show, it's if something is happening in our personal life, say in our business, well, where's that happening in your personal relationships? Where is that happening in your health? If it's affecting one area, I can almost guarantee you it's affecting everything else.
So it's all like a mirror. Everything's a mirror.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. And I guess you could call it like a past life. Your previous career must be very different to this path you're on now, which I'm guessing you would never have imagined yourself even being sat here doing the work that you're doing. I mean, you're a leader in your field as well. Do you ever look back and think, wow, what happened?
Oh my God, all the time. It's crazy. I never thought I'd be doing this, let alone making a fantastic living at it. I thought one day I may live in Hawaii. I'm living there now. I thought that'd be another 20 years into the future. Maybe if I made enough money and stopped working corporate and did all those other things. But it just all shifted. And I anticipated, I was married for 18 years. I thought that marriage was going to be forever. We're going to live in the suburbs, raise kids, have a nice vacation house, and live the typical lifestyle. The typical lifestyle started to hurt. Consumerism, which I loved before, and it was something that excited us. It's nice having a nice house and a nice car and nice clothes and all that, and I still like that, but I don't lead with that anymore. And it seemed like we were trained to lead with that. If we had that, then it would demonstrate that we're successful. We're fulfilling something up inside of us, and it flipped really quickly. Those things don't matter. And I've shared with several people, I had this amazing meditation. I was in Bimini, the Bahamas, on my birthday 3 years ago. And all of a sudden I get this channel coming in. It's so beautiful. And I can feel this information coming through me. And all I can speak out loud is like, thank you for everything that's been gifted to me, and none of it's mine. Thank you for everything that's been gifted to it, and none of it's mine. And there's this gratitude that was coming up for all of this love that's shown up in so many different ways. Through the material things, through the love of others, through the opportunities that I've had, but it's all of it. And it's all just an expression of what wants to come through to us and how we choose to experience it.
Yeah.
And I chose to experience that as love. And as that welled up in me, there was this enormous release. It's like I was having a direct conversation with God. And part of the conversation, which I knew I was hitting a thread on it, was that, and thank you for my daughters. And I know they're not mine. I give them back to you. And something else shifted. And it was absolutely amazing. And then the next thread, and I don't deserve any of it, and thank you. And letting that go into humility. And then we went to the opposite end of the spectrum in that same channel. It was like, and you know what? Thank you so much, and I know that there's more. I know there's more because I know that I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing this of service to humanity. And in that knowing, the polarity of that knowing, of the not deserving and deserving at the same time, balanced out for me, and I came away from that channel a different person.
Wow. That must have been, I can almost feel for you that you was almost forgiving yourself as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's when you've had to forgive yourself. You don't look back on it with any regret, no?
I have no regrets whatsoever. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's funny. I do that from time to time, and it's like, no, not a one. It's all been so perfect leading up to here. Sitting right here is so perfect.
Because you've been through a hell of a lot then, not just in your personal changes. I'm guessing friends as well, old friends wouldn't understand where you're at now, or you probably have there's no energy in common right now, I would have thought in some respects.
In a lot of respects. In a lot of respect. And there's still the affection between friends. It's like I didn't have friends that were so judgmental that they dropped off because I started channeling, I started speaking this vernacular, which is beautiful. Some people experience that. Some people experience that rage, that backlash of judgment. Luckily, that didn't happen to me. But there was a disparity of energy and commonality that shifted. And as I left the consumerism, the house, the suburbs, the schools, raising the kids to do certain things, that shifted. My relationship with my ex-wife shifted. And she's beautiful. She's a beautiful channel in her own way. Maybe a little more sleep about it. But she showed up as a soul and did exactly what she needed to do. And we had a beautiful relationship until it was time for us to move. But if she hadn't shown up in the way that she had, it wouldn't have pushed me into what I'm doing now.
No, and have you noticed with some people in this field, not everyone, but there's a vast majority I find after interviewing so many, that kids aren't always on the cards.
Yeah. Oh, that's happening. I'm noticing that more and more. We've allowed the women to say, no, no kids. They're in their late 20s, early 30s, even very early 40s, like, no, there's no kids.
Yeah.
And it's so different than what I was used to.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's the same for everyone, right? You know, I mean, I sit here open-minded about that, you know, if in the future. But it seems to be, for some people in this, the majority of people in this work, to do this work, the kids, it's almost like that karma's not meant to be there, if that's the right words for it, or it's something else.
It's a different timeline for them or something. And I think it's a choice point. Am I married to, I don't even know what the marriage is, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The children and their decision not to have children, it's been peculiar to me. And I wish I had an answer for that, but I do notice that.
Yeah.
It's very telling. And I wonder how it's going to play out.
And the relationship with your children as well, I mean, is that something that will be built back together in the future? You'd like to do that? Or is that something that you've got still now?
My relationship with my daughters are amazing. So yeah, so when I started doing this work, I had to play with them. They were some of my first triggers because they were making fun of me. They were making fun of me for meditating. They were making fun of me for telling them that I see energy. They were making fun of me for thinking that I was psychic. And I never claimed to be psychic, but they threw those labels at me. Mm-hmm. They threw labels, oh, you're channeling now, okay. So I made it fun. I'd stand in front of an elevator with them and I go, it's that one that's gonna show up. And 9 times out of 10, that one would show up. I'd go in a parking garage with them, 10-story parking garage at a major mall. During Christmas time, it's like, all right, we're gonna go up 3 levels, 5 rows down, 6 rows over, and there's gonna be a parking spot right there during Christmas time. I may be off 1 or 2 spots, but 90% of the time we'd hit it, so.
Just think of the gift you're going to leave them in your legacy when your work is, even what you're doing now, but when when we know, unfortunately we don't last very long in these bodies, right? But just think of the legacy that you're going to leave them. That will be your truth. I think that's that's one of the greatest gifts you could give them as well.
I'm getting the chills as you're talking about that. And what I get to do, we talked earlier about being a teacher. I can be a teacher for my children, and I can be a teacher for them by example. And how I've seen them grow up, and they're older now. My oldest is 23, the youngest is 21. But the way they lead their lives now, and how open they are, and how expressive they are, and open to curiosity and wonder, that's the legacy we want to leave our children. And because I've been so daring and being so out of the closet with this information, they've come to get comfortable with it. They have seen and experienced the information that comes through and how it lands true for them. And in that, they've opened to the possibility within themselves. And that's what we need to do in this world to create the changes that we're looking for.
Absolutely. And, when did you start your talk show?
5 years ago, so 2013.
So even in that, well, I suppose it feels like a long time to you, but in the bigger picture, in that short term, you would have even seen a lot of change as well in people's perception towards these subjects.
Oh, absolutely. It's in the beginning, I started the show because this information and the way that I learned it had such a profound effect, such a positive, profound effect in my life and what I opened to, the opportunities that were coming in, and the freedom that I felt. But not holding these judgments placed on culture through us, that everybody that I knew had to know something about it. I had to do something to get the word out about it. Right. It was just a mission. Yeah. It's like I did not understand how people lived with this for so long, or how I was so ignorant to it. And so it was really about getting the word out.
And something we discussed off air as well is, we were talking about, how spiritual teachers have to live their truth. If I'm going to be working with a spiritual teacher, they have to live by the principles that they're trying to teach me as well. Because there's far too many that don't. I'm just going to say that.
I think teachers show up for people where they're ready For me personally, if I'm going to be working with someone, whether I'm interviewing them or working with them personally, or collaborating in any way, that alignment has to be there for me. If I'm going to work with the best of anybody, well, I want to work with someone who's embodying it. You don't work with a personal trainer who's 50 pounds overweight. You don't work out with someone who's going to teach you about physics if their specialty is, world studies. You just don't do that. Or if their energy is somewhere else.
A question I have as well is in regards to the younger generation, and for me, there are people that have come across on my path who are really tuned into only resonating with teachers who live by their truth. And I think even as them as teachers as well, they would want to demonstrate themselves living by their truth.
Right. I agree. I'm so excited about this next generation that's coming in. The next generation of teachers, but also just the next generation period, because they're embodying this, what I would call this BS detector within them. It's just natural. It's an A. And if it's not congruent, if they feel something's off, they will go on to where the truth actually lies for them. And of course that changes for all of us individually, but there's something that calls us that we feel inside ourselves. So, we're doing this series about channels, but we're all channels. We all have these feelings when things are off or not, and what's guiding that, well, we can call that channeled information as well. But this generation is so in tune with that. They're so connected to it, and they will not settle for anything but that. So, new generation of teachers in that age range that's coming up for me. And for me, it's 27 to 30 to about 40 years old is what I consider that next generation of teachers that are coming in. And also this community that's coming in of people who are, again, insisting on impeccability from those who they decide to invest their time in and have that energy exchange, because that is more valuable than anything else. They know they can't get that back by following somebody else's mistake or by following a thread that doesn't feel authentic. And so what's happening now in the field, in this industry, is that there are some teachers out there who've been sharing with mixed messages, and some even manipulating for finance control and all that seem very open and enlightened. But as, again, the more tuned in you get, the easier it is to feel that something's off. And so those teachers, those leaders, those gurus, their platform's not going to be very stable. And it's happening not only in our industry, it's happening across the board. Sports figures, politics, corporate, it's all over the place.
It really is. I've never known a time I've lived in consciously where it's out there in the public. Transparency is finally coming through. And it's not just in our field, as you say, it's in many different sectors out there as well. So this is a different time we're living in right now. And with the work that you do as well, I suppose you have to be, well, you are quite discerning actually with those that you get on.
I insist on being it. And as busy as my schedule is, and part of our vetting process when we interview channels and psychics and esoteric teachers, I have sessions with them. I have one-on-one sessions, and it's a gift to me. I love experiencing the variety, and I get something from every session. But it's also a barometer for what I'm willing to present to these people who follow my show, who are an audience that are expecting to receive information that's aligned, that's honest, that's truthful, and that's going to elevate their consciousness. And someone can consider themselves an expert, but if they're not really elevating consciousness, or if they're manipulating consciousness for their own benefit, they really don't belong on this type of platform. As far as I'm concerned, any platform, because humanity needs to go in a beautiful direction that it's inclined to go towards, not right now, but we should not be the ones that are illuminating false truths, illuminating the false prophets, if you will, which tended to come up in the biblical times. When the enlightenment was coming in, a lot of the false prophets were showing up as well.
And it's just repeated itself in different ways right now. Yeah. That's the way I see it. But it's all moving forward nicely. That's the good part here right now. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Even just creating the awareness of it as well. So, and one thing I just wanted to touch on as well, with the work that you've gone through, with the transformation you've gone through, you can now apply teachings that have really helped you, and teachings that you have really resonated with in your own life, and with any issues that sort of occur in your life as well.
Oh, all over the place. And it's so wonderful because whatever I learn, I get to teach. And I get to be not only a reporter, but there's also something that happens as my channel opens, that my own guidance, my own innate wisdom comes through. And that gets shared in a way that I can teach this just accumulation of all of this knowledge. And it really leads people who choose to resonate with what I teach into a place where they have effective tools. It's one thing to go out here and get information and be in different galaxies and multi-universes and bringing stuff in. It's super cool. It feels so fun. And it's another thing being super grounded and very, very linear in your process. But we're being called to merge the two. And that's what's happening right now.
That's such an important part as well, because I don't see you, dressed up in a white gown or playing the harp. There's nothing wrong with the harp, right? You're here to have a human experience. You're here to enjoy the fruits of life as well. Being spiritual does not mean the avoidance of anything, really. It's everything in balance.
Well, the term spiritual it's a tricky term also. It was bugging me so much for the last few months. I finally had to look up the definition. And the definition was something to the effect of having to do with the spirit or the soul, but relinquishing material effects, not of the material realm. And for me, that's programming. That's not truth to me. Spirituality is everything to me. And as embodied human beings, we get to experience everything as love and should include that. We're here in human form. So yes, the spirituality, the energy, that connection to source, to God, absolutely. But we're connected to Mother Earth. We're connected to Gaia. We have all of these amazing experiences that we can choose to experience as love. And we're in human form. We get to do this. I get to hug someone. I get to touch other people. I'm a sensual being. I get to make love. I get to enjoy my children. And this happiness and joy, and why would I want to avoid that by being what's called a spiritual person?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So moving this to your show as well, because that's an important part of what you do now as well. Then we'll get into some channeling. With the show that you're doing now, so just explain just how that show came about and where it's gone now as well.
Oh my goodness, I'll try to make a long story short, but I was running my own business for a while, and it was fairly successful, but I was bored. I was bored of the business. I was running a franchise, and it was doing okay, and I was twiddling my thumbs at my desk because I knew that I was supposed to be doing something else. Something else was motivating me through the boredom, and I seemed to have a fantastic life. Beautiful wife, amazing kids, lived in a great neighborhood, drove a great car. I was athletic, fit for my age. My children were successful in what they were doing. Just what seemed to be a happy life, but something was missing. And I didn't know what it was. And so I hired a business coach who actually turned out to be a spiritual coach. And the way that those teachings came through started in a way that I can start to receive it. And after about 3 sessions, it quickly turned into, hey, do you want to try this esoteric work? Since we're talking about business, so it can help you. And we went straight into it. And after the first session, I started seeing energy. I started traveling through other dimensions. I started having prophetic dreams. It's like this floodgate of information that I always had within me, but I had shut down because of conditioning, because I was trying so hard to fit in because I didn't fit in, that I had tried even harder to fit in. And doing that, I shut myself out to try to make myself be like other people, to be like my friends, to be like my parents, to be like my family, to be like people at school or at work, so that I can buy success, so that I can mortgage my happiness for later years, so that I can buy all these things that supposedly success would bring if you follow the rules. Well, I got to age 40 and it wasn't working for me. And I didn't know what was calling me, but something was. And so when I hired this coach, everything, again, with the processes and the information, the awareness is the key. And that's the thing. It's once we're no longer ignorant what's possible. And I was really taken out of a place of ignorance where it allowed me to open up to the gifts that I have. And we all have them. It's when we give ourselves permission to use them that we truly become the powers that we all are in the benevolent intention in which we use it. And so I think that's what we're all striving for. But everything changed from work and my career when I started having this experience. And when that opened up, I knew that I couldn't go back to corporate. And this coach actually offered me a job almost on the spot after we stopped working together. We worked together 10 weeks and I wanted to pay again. It's like, we need to keep going. She's like, I can't hire you anymore. Or you can't hire me, I can't work with you anymore. It's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I'm not teaching you anything anymore. We're teaching each other, we're collaborating. And in that, instead of you paying me, which wouldn't be a fair energy exchange, why don't you come with me and help me build this platform out in a bigger way? I said yes. It took me 2 seconds to say yes, and I sold my business a few months later, and it was off to the races. So we started doing that together, and the business was doing okay, but I was being called into something else. So the last paycheck that I received from that company was December 2012, which is a big transformation year for many people. And I started the show December 2013, not knowing that I was going to start a show. I knew I had to stop working there, and I didn't know what I was going to do next. And I started putting my resume together, maybe do corporate, maybe bring this work into corporate, and it just felt wrong. And so I just sat, living off of my 401k, my retirement savings, for quite a few months, gifting my time and energy to other companies to help them build while the information came to me. And this show was channeled to me. Every month for 3 months, I kept asking, what am I doing next? It's not time. What am I doing next? It's not time. What am I doing next? It's not time. Well, I had about 2 more months worth of funds in my 401k and in my retirement savings. And so I asked my guides again, I said, you know what, I've got 2 months left in my 401k. What do you want me to do? Because I need to do something. Like, it's coming soon. It's like, all right. And the funny part about it was that I wasn't concerned about money at all. And what was leading this is like, how am I going to serve? How can I share this information? Because that's all I really want to do. And I used to have a lot of fear about money when I was working corporate. All the time. We grew up very impoverished. My family, it was an immigrant family from South America, moved to New York. Dad was a blue-collar worker. Mom worked as a maid, a cafeteria worker for a long time. So we had a lot of struggle with money growing up. And money wasn't a fear for me anymore. So something tremendously had shifted for me since that. And the empowerment to not let fear lead and to listen to that guidance for that next step was tremendous for me. So it was April of 2013 that I finally heard, start a show. It's like, what do you mean start a show? Start your radio show. It'll monetize, start putting things out. And I go, okay, but that's going to take me 6 months. Like, no, it'll take you a few weeks. Which should have taken me 6 months at the very least to build out. It took me 6 weeks once I had the message. I had a web design team, email funnels going in, started building community. I'd call speakers to be on my show that were on the most popular shows all over the world. Like, we don't know why we're saying yes to you. You don't have an audience. You barely have a platform. We've never heard of you, but we have to say yes. And I booked 40 speakers for a 10-week show within 4 weeks. All on the schedule, all on the site. We did all the technology that we needed to, and we launched the first show. And from the beginning of the first show, it just monetized. Everything came in. I was fully supported. It kept growing. We kept growing our audience. And I thought I was going to do 1 or 2 seasons and do something else. And we're in 16 seasons now. It's crazy. But it was all channeled, guided information. Even the name of the show was channeled. I was sitting at a restaurant with a friend, and all of a sudden I hear this voice, Beyond the Ordinary. It's like, I look at her and go, I just heard the name of the show. It's like, is it Beyond the Ordinary? She's like, I'm like, yes. She goes, I heard it too. It's crazy. But this stuff shows up, this information, this magic, if you will, the synchronicity shows up, and it's not just for one person. You find that once you start playing in this energy and bathing in it, that there's like this telepathy that's happening between people as well.
Yeah, and I think what you represent as well is someone that's shows that you can make money in this field. It's okay to make money in this field. It's your right to make money. Do you know what I mean?
No, we have to make money in this field. And there's a big difference because we're looking for change in this world. And the ones that are changing this world right now are the pharmaceutical company, the oil and gas company, the automobile manufacturers. They're the ones that are leading advertising. Look at who's leading advertising, who's influencing commercials that our children see, the billboards all over the place, the sports arenas, who's up there. They're making billions and billions and billions of dollars. At the same time, we have these amazing teachers that are available, that are school teachers, or maybe they're working part-time as accountants, and they have this amazing information to share as channels, as psychics, of this benevolent information that's going to transform plenty of people. But they can only do it part-time because they have to support themselves financially, because that's the way it's structured. What happens if that would tip? What happens if they became the leaders of the world? What happens if they had the money to be able to influence the media in a way that really served humanity? No, it's imperative. It's imperative that we make money.
I'm glad you say it like that, and thank you for sharing what you've shared there. And you can say that because you've lived it. That's the difference.
Yes.
Right? There's others out there that'll be watching this right now, but like, oh my God, I love this field, but I'm just struggling it. You don't need to struggle. But I think what it is, we can't all do. We've all got a unique thing to do here, haven't we? And it's what you said just before, which was, you listened, you asked, you tuned in, and you trusted.
Yes.
If people just did that a bit more, all answers lie within. That's the whole point of my channeling documentary. They call us channelers. It's you. You are the channel. Thank you for what you said there, because that's so powerful. So, judging what you said there, then basically, you had all these guests coming on, and like we're saying, who are you, kind of, to begin with,
absolutely.
Right? We're not saying that anymore, right? But and their followings came to you, that helped you build what you were doing. Other people saw the traction that was happening. People heard about it from all sorts of different ways that you advertised it and everything else, which is the right way to do it. And you've built up a very honest and very helpful platform, because it's not just about. I don't think you're just about, let's have an interview, but then after the interview, it's like, okay, here's a practical course, or here's some way that you can get more from what we're offering. This is just a key basically for you to turn the door.
Yeah, what's beautiful about the interviews, and I like to call them talks because they're conversations like you and I having a conversation here, is that we're really bringing people into our home, our living room, and we're raising each other's vibration. That's really the intention. And so we share tools, we share information. The interviews are rich. It's not just this gratuitous conversation and maybe people call in and they get a psychic reading that will serve someone for the next 2 weeks and then it's gone. No, we're really providing a platform where we're helping people by vibrating the energy to a level where it clears the density out of their field. And what do I mean by that? It clears the fear. It clears the doubt and clears the anxiety by being with other people who help make them feel better. And by staying in that field, then clarity comes in. We're making decisions that are much more beneficial for us instead of making them from that wobbly field that comes from that fear, anxiety, and doubt. And we're changing people's lives in that.
Absolutely. And as you said before on this interview, you didn't just get anyone on that was just trying to sell a book, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, I do find in my field that, a lot of people come to me and I'm as a spiritual teacher in this, I've got a book, and just because you've got a book, I've realized it doesn't make you a spiritual teacher,
Thank you, right?
But there's nothing wrong with that. But I think what you do differently is that you screen them, you're working with some of the best people out that you're choosing. They're not coming to you. Yes, people want to get on your show, of course, but what I'm saying is you choose.
Absolutely, yeah. It's got to be a coherent field. It's got to be somebody that raises my field also. And that's what I look for. And if that happens, then I know it's right for the audience. It's, we all drive a particular audience to us because of who we are. And so I find when the speakers are resonant with me, that the audience really receives them. And why is it important for the audience to receive them? Because that means they're being fed with something, again, that's helping them lift that vibration, their frequency, and again, bringing them more clarity.
Yeah, and again, with your audience, I would say, whenever you put yourself out there, be it whatever size audience, you're kind of, there's people flocking to you that are of the same vibration. You're attracting your vibe,
right?
In a sense. I bet you've reckoned, I've seen that sometimes, that these people resonate with the message, but also as well, one of your things, it's not just empowering people, it's getting them to see that they hold the answer within.
Right. It's so encouraging about what you just said also, and it's been so evident, even more so lately, is the younger generation that's coming onto the show. The demographics are changing. And so our demographics are typically women from 40 to about 60 plus. And we're finding through the statistics that there's younger people coming in. More men also are showing up, but the younger generation showing up in the way that they are, with the excitement that they are. But also it's like, wow, I didn't know where to find this information. I didn't know where to look for this. I've been wanting to have this conversation. This is so cool. And that's exciting. That's really telling me that something is shifting tremendously.
That's exciting. That is exciting. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said before, you're the proof of that because you're living your truth. That's the difference. But you're only living your truth because you listened and you continue to listen. Do you find sometimes that you can easily get out of alignment and the voice is not there anymore, or it disappears?
It's really interesting with that. I was having this conversation with someone just this afternoon. And what happens when I get out of alignment, it feels so disparate for me. It feels so off and awful. It doesn't feel good. It adjusts really quickly. You get to a certain point when you know that you're off, you become so conscientious. And it's no longer a subconscious thing that's leading. It comes to the forefront really quickly that you adjust course so fast. So it may happen from time to time, but I don't hang out there a long time.
How do you know where the voice? Where is the voice for you? Is it a feeling? Is it an emotion? Sometimes is it an actual your voice coming back to you, but a little bit wiser or a little bit clearer?
It comes to me in various forms. Most generally, it comes as this knowing that I can translate into words.
Okay.
That's mostly how it shows up for me. But sometimes I hear. And I can't even say that I hear it. It's like I almost get pictures and hearing, and it gets translated through a filter, and the words just come out naturally.
Right, yeah. And again, I just want to emphasize this, so we've got this on tape. Yeah, your work is about empowering others,
Yes.
getting them to find their answers.
Absolutely. Oh, 100%. I can channel and I can give psychic readings for people and all that, but if it doesn't empower someone, then it seems like my energy doesn't want to go there. And while I can do those type of psychic readings, I tend to shut down really quickly because that's not where I want to go. And again, my body adjusts to that also.
Isn't that surprising? You've got that gift, yet it's not where you want to go.
Right.
You may have it, but you're not forced to go down that road.
Yeah, free will, which is beautiful.
Interesting that you've got it. Maybe it's not meant for that. Maybe it's not meant for that. Maybe you're not meant to be giving readings through to other people with it. Maybe it's for your own internal use and on the show as well, which is sharing it with others anyway, isn't it? It's a different use of it, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think we all have certain gifts that we have access to, but we don't use all of them in the same way. And there's certain ones that actually lead. And so, again, when I come on the show and I share with the audience and with the speakers what's coming through, the ones that seems to be the most effective and far-reaching as part of my service of giving back seems to be this natural, sentient information that comes through, my body interprets and I share it through the voice, is a vibrational tone that other people pick up on. And I find it so interesting that the words matter, but they don't really matter as much as the vibrational tone of what we're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So if I was to ask you this question, I'll just ask you it now. If I was to ask you, what is channeling to you? What does it mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. Channeling to me is this nexus point between our being, our soul, and our communication with Source. And when those three meet, there's this information that wants to be shared for the betterment of myself, for you, and then anybody else that we touch. And so it has a ripple effect that it's good for you, it's good for me, and in that, it affects everybody else. And that's the golden means when shared with benevolent intent.
So it could be in the case where it's more of an emotional change it has on you rather than just physical, just actual audible words. There may be something internal that's going on sometimes with some of these channelers. It's not always, here's some detailed information, I want you to memorize it.
No, definitely not. It's information that's coming through, and it's in the moment. It's in the present.
And it's changing people. Some of these channels have this ability to kind of give that information out that they give, and you may not understand it or get all of it, but you feel shifted just from hearing it sometimes.
Oh, and when our emotions pick it up also, when we have an emotional connection, you know something's happening immediately. When our body responds in such a way that our nervous system reacts, there's something happening at a deep cellular level that's affecting our chemistry.
Absolutely. And where is your discernment in any of this? I mean, do you obviously you've developed your discernment, but I mean, how do you apply discernment to having so many people on with this gift?
For me, it's a body awareness thing. Our body is something, when people talk about channeling, they talk about this energy coming in and other realms coming in. But again, our body is an amazing vehicle, an amazing barometer for what's going on. So discernment comes in. Again, there's a knowing that comes in through the clarity. Once we release expectations of what we expect to receive, and we don't have manipulation as part of what leads. And again, if we let go of that anger, that guilt, the judgment that we have, that's all those things that tell us that we're not good enough. When those things don't lead, the discernment comes in a lot easier, but our body responds too. If our body tightens up, if it opens up, if it feels free, then all of these different gauges for interpreting what feels good, what feels right, what feels true for you come into play, and then you get to decide. And it's a question of just playing with it and allowing ourselves to be wrong, because a lot of things that happen with the discernment is that we're so afraid to be wrong in our choice that either we believe something or we don't, that it stays in the field, and whenever we do that, it takes away our ability to feel into, again, what's true.
I just want to keep it basic in a sense. Well, maybe. My first question to you, if you was going to bring in that greater part of yourself, just to open that up, what would you say is the reason we're having this human experience for?
So we can experience the love that we are. That's truly it. I mean, that's all. What's available to us as a reflection of who we are is absolutely amazing. And it's what we focus on that we see reflected back to us. And as humans, we chose that experience because the disparity also reminds us of the other side of it. And so it's all a reminder of exactly where we came from. But it's the lens in which we choose to experience it that takes us either closer to it or further away from it.
And so when that question was brought in there, you just allowed that answer just to flow, just to come in, no change of voice, no, not much difference, but there's just, you're just flowing with it, and that allows it just to come in and do its thing.
And I can feel myself step out of the way in it also,
I thought you did a little bit. I was like, it's gone. Yeah. And again, with another channel question, just let that flow back through again. We seem to live in a multi-dimensional reality. Are those other dimensions, do you think, affecting us or working with us?
They're all happening simultaneously as part of our experience of back to love. And we get to pluck one of those dimensions and experience it as our truth right now. But they're all truths that are happening at the same time. And so yes. And what's happening as these energies keep to increase, as Earth keeps to vibrate at higher frequencies, is we're starting to access some of those frequencies in different ways. And that's why you're seeing a lot more people with these abilities to channel, to connect to these other realms of information that's growing in numbers. And so you'll find that this is going to be more commonplace than you ever would have thought of. In the next very near future, there's going to be more and more people having these conversations like they would be having a conversation about the morning newspaper.
Because keeping in that channel state, because, well, channeling, it seems to be, after meeting so many, the natural byproduct of having a human experience. It's what we do. We just bring it through all the time. We just don't know it. Where did that spark of divineness come from? The car mechanic, when he just knew what was wrong with the car, he channeled it.
Well, it's in being in intimacy with all that is. And we've been so taught that intimacy is not a safe thing. It's dangerous. We only keep those close to us and that information close to us that are going to keep us in a free state of being. And it's quite just the opposite. It's the lack of intimacy that's imprisoned us. And so opening to the intimacy of all information so we can discern what is right for us in our human experience is what sets us free and what opens up the channel more openly for everybody to experience.
That's a beautiful answer. Thank you for that. That's a really, completely, I didn't think of it like that. Absolutely. Would you also say that if we're picking out of these infinite realities out there, or at least let's keep it to multiple realities, right? If we're picking from the multiple realities, that's almost like saying we can create our own reality, in a sense, shared with everyone else.
We're learning to jump timelines. We're learning to pick fields and to reverse engineer our futures in based on our emotions, based on the type of world that we want to live in. We're breaking free of the constructs that have kept us bound to a limited resource. This world is not limited. This world is abundant, as are the parallel realities that are available to us, and we are opening up to the awareness of that possibility within us. Except we think it's just a possibility for many of us now, but it's the truth. But we have to get through the stage of possibility to get into the experience, to get into the living it. And that's where most of humanity is right now. There's many people, more than you would anticipate, that are actually doing that right now. They're shifting their timelines and changing realities that when they came in this incarnation, they were dealt one set of cards. But because of what they've learned, because of the energies that have been facilitated through what the planetary influences are bringing in, through the solar flares, through this ignition of radiation that's affecting our DNAs and our cells, that is allowing the amplification of our energy to see the possibility of working and playing and plucking the chords of the harmonics of the universe and how we get to choose how we experience life. And so many people are learning that their outcomes can be diverted into something in which they can become a catalyst of what's possible for humanity.
See, that's such an amazing bit of information you've said there, because when we shift, we're not aware sometimes that we've shifted. You know, and some people are using that ability and not even understanding that's the ability that they've got, or exactly the way you've said it there. They're using it, but they're not aware. They may be calling it something else.
Yes. What's so amazing, and it's such a conundrum with us as human beings, is we can look forward to something into the future and looking to create something with a lot of positivity or a lot of hope, or maybe not hope, but we can see and maybe try to determine something that's going to fit for our reality now. And maybe a lot of people have dreams and aspirations that they go for. A lot of us look into the past and we see a lot of pain, things that we don't want to repeat, a lot of suffering, or happy moments that were pinnacle moments, but we only see them as pinnacle moments. We glimpse them and they go away, and we hope that we can recreate them somehow, but it was so good, can it ever get as good as it was? But for many of us, if we look at where we are now and think about where we were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, can we really have gratitude for everything that we've been through that has led us to where we are now, and the people in our lives and the situations that make these moments possible, and have that much gratitude, that much love as much love as for those pinnacle moments. And when we learn to do that by just reflecting and giving ourselves credit, because we can give a lot of other people credit, it's so much easier to do that. But to give ourselves credit, that's something that we're not taught to do so much. And again, when we can create those pinnacle moments as constants in our present moment, then that's what starts leading into our future. That's how we want to create our future. And that's what's going to create the type of lives that we've always known somehow that we can lead, but has been so elusive for so many of us.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. And I guess with keeping this in a sort of fairly light channel mode here, we've always got help. There's always those on the other side that are helping us. A team.
Yes. Oh, so many teams and so many loved ones. And again, all we have to do is ask. We do not ask for help. We do not ask for help enough from our team, from the other side, from our deceived loved ones, from God, from whoever you have a connection with that isn't in this physical realm. Ask. And if you don't know who to ask, if there's somebody listening that's of love, that wants to help, I invite you to come in and help me with this. And be specific. I need help finding my keys. I need help finding the love of my life. I need help getting over this anger. I need help with clarity. The more specific we are and honest with our intention, the easier it is for us to connect with the frequency of the information that wants to come in. See, the reason the information doesn't come in is there's a phone line available if you will. And if we're trying to connect with a green line when this is a yellow line, it's not going to sync up necessarily. And so when we can ask to be met from what's available to us, then it'll connect and it'll come in a lot easier.
Thank you for that. That's very powerful. What's a really important message that you could channel right now?
Oh my goodness. There's so much that's coming and that's important. It's really that this is simple. We've complicated things. We've taken things and we've tried to figure things out and intellectualize them or over-emotionalize them. That we've taken away the beauty of the simplicity of what's available to us. And it's in the simplicity that all your answers lie, that all your happiness lies, that all the love that you've been looking for shall be gifted to you. You've taken yourself away and you've grown from it, but it's time to get back to those simple things that are waiting to embrace you.
Well, John, your website is?
beyondtheordinaryshow.com.
Okay, that's been coming up on the docu-series throughout this. Well, John, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to be in your company and to hear your truth. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been an honor being with you. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this.
The honor's mine, brother. The honor's mine. Thank you.